They filled the fuel tanks halfway. 332 men asked why. The admiral said nothing, because there was no fuel for the return trip. This is the story of the ship Japan sent to die. And when 400 enemy planes appeared, the crew realized they'd been sacrificed for honor. Kure Port, Japan. Fishermen noticed something strange. The naval shipyard is surrounded by fishing nets stretching for an entire mile. Giant screens cover everything. What are they building? Nobody knows. Even the workers don't see the full picture. Each engineer gets only part of the blueprints. No one sees the complete design. Photo albums contain pictures of every worker. At the entrance, ID check against photos. At the exit, another check. Guards verify every face. One mistake and the Americans discover the secret. And this secret will change the war in the Pacific. Behind those nets, Yamato is being born, the largest warship in human history. A monster designed to face the entire American fleet alone. And no one in the world must know about it until the war begins. The secret weapon. Japan understands the problem. The United States has 3 times more ships. They need something radical, something so powerful it can sink 3 American battleships at once. The answer: build the biggest, most heavily armed battleship ever created. November 4th, 1937. The keel is laid at Kure Naval Arsenal. The shipyard itself must be rebuilt. The dock is deepened by 1 full meter. Gantry cranes capable of lifting 350 tons are installed. A massive canopy is erected over the dry dock to hide the ship from American spy planes overhead. The numbers are insane. Length, 863 feet, nearly 3 football fields. Width, 121 feet. Weight, 72,800 tons, heavier than any battleship America has. 9 massive guns, each 18.1 inches in diameter, the largest naval guns ever mounted on a warship. Each shell weighs 3,200 pounds and can travel 26 miles. The armor is so thick that regular bombs can't penetrate it. But here's the terrifying part. The guns are so big that when they fire broadside, the shockwave can kill men standing on deck. Special protocols are created. All crew must retreat inside when the main battery fires, or the blast will rupture their internal organs. Building the beast. Construction takes 4 years. 3,000 workers labor day and night. Every rivet, every weld is classified top secret. Workers sign documents swearing silence under penalty of death. Families are told nothing about what their husbands and fathers are building. The secrecy is extreme. Roads leading to the shipyard are blocked. Police patrol every entrance. Anyone taking photos near the area is immediately arrested. When foreign diplomats visit other parts of Kure, Yamato's construction area is completely off limits. Guards with orders to shoot patrol the perimeter. The ship is so massive that special construction techniques must be invented. The armor plates are the thickest ever forged, up to 26 inches in some places. A single armor plate weighs as much as a house. Installing them requires specially designed cranes and months of precision work. Launch in silence. August 8, 1940, launch day. But there's no celebration, no fanfare, no public ceremony. The launch is done in total silence with minimal witnesses. Japanese intelligence knows American spies are everywhere. One photograph leaked to Washington could compromise the entire project. The giant hull slides into the water without music, without speeches, without the traditional champagne bottle. Workers watch in silence. This is the moment they've worked towards for years, but they cannot celebrate. They cannot even tell their families what they've witnessed. After the launch, finishing work continues for over a year. The massive gun turrets are installed. Each turret weighs more than an entire destroyer. The fire control systems, the most advanced in the world, are fitted. Radar equipment, communication systems, thousands of miles of wiring, all installed under maximum security. December 16, 1941. 9 days after Pearl Harbor, Yamato is officially commissioned into the Imperial Japanese Navy, but even now, the ship isn't fully ready. Additional modifications continue for another 5 months. Anti-aircraft guns are added. Crew training intensifies. The ship must be perfect. May 27, 1942. Yamato is finally declared combat ready, the largest, most powerful battleship in the world, Japan's ultimate weapon. the ship that will decide the war in the Pacific, or so they believe. But there's a problem. A problem no one wants to admit. The world has changed. Aircraft carriers now dominate naval warfare. Battleships, even one as mighty as Yamato, are becoming obsolete. The admirals refuse to accept this. They've spent too much money, too much time, too much pride on this steel monster. They will use it. They will prove battleships still matter. May 1942. Young sailor Mitsuru Yoshida steps aboard Yamato for the first time. His jaw drops. This isn't a warship. This is a floating palace, air conditioning, the first on any Japanese warship, climate-controlled living spaces, 10 square feet of living area per man compared to just 3 feet on destroyers. Other crews call it Hotel Yamato with envy and bitterness in their voices. There's a judo gym, a full fitness center, an elevator so officers don't have to climb stairs to reach the bridge, white rice for every meal, not the barley gruel served on other ships. The junior sailors can't believe their luck. They've been assigned to the greatest ship in the fleet, and they live better than admirals on smaller vessels. But there's a darker truth beneath the luxury. Yamato is too precious to risk, too expensive to lose, too symbolic to endanger. The admirals keep her in port, safe from American submarines and aircraft. While destroyers and cruisers die in the Solomon Islands, Yamato sits idle. The crew starts to feel the shame. They have the best ship, the best conditions, and they do nothing. The flagship that never fights, February 1942. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the mastermind of Pearl Harbor, makes Yamato his flagship. The ship becomes the nerve center of the combined fleet. Officers crowd the elaborate command spaces. Radio operators work around the clock. Battle plans are drawn in the war room. But Yamato herself never fires a shot. June 1942. The Battle of Midway, the turning point of the Pacific War. Yamamoto directs the operation from Yamato's bridge. 4 Japanese aircraft carriers sail into battle. All 4 are sunk. Over 3,000 men die. American dive bombers change the war in 5 minutes. And Yamato? She's 300 miles away, too far to help, too valuable to risk. Yamamoto watches his fleet burn on the radio reports. The greatest battleship in the world is useless. The crew feels it. The shame spreads through the ship like disease. They have the biggest guns in the world, and they've never fired them at an enemy. They have the thickest armor, and it's never been tested. They eat white rice while their comrades starve on destroyers. They sleep in air-conditioned cabins while other sailors die in burning ships. Morale begins to crack. Other crews start calling them the Yamato Hotel. The insult stings because it's true. Month after month, Yamato sits in Truk Lagoon, the massive Japanese naval base in the Pacific. The crew practices, drills, trains, but they don't fight. By 1943, some sailors have been on board for over a year and have never seen combat. The First Blood, October 1944. Everything changes. The Americans invade the Philippines. Japan makes a desperate decision. Send every available ship. This is the final gamble. If they lose the Philippines, the war is over. Yamato will finally fight. October 24th. Yamato leaves port as part of Admiral Kurita's center force. The mission, break through to Leyte Gulf and destroy the American invasion fleet. 23 ships sailed together. Battleships Yamato, Musashi, Nagato, Kongo, and Haruna. Heavy cruisers, destroyers. It's the most powerful surface fleet Japan has assembled in years, but the Americans are waiting. At dawn, the first wave hits. American carrier planes from Task Force 38. They ignore Yamato and focus on her sister ship, Musashi. Torpedo after torpedo slams into Musashi's hull. Bombs rain down. For hours, the Americans pound her. Yamato's crew watches in horror as their sister ship, built to the same invincible design, slowly dies. Musashi capsizes and sinks, taking over 1,000 men with her. If Musashi can die, so can Yamato. Battle off Samar, October 25th, dawn. Yamato and the surviving fleet emerge from San Bernardino Strait. They expect to find the main American battleship fleet. Instead, they stumble into Taffy 3, a small group of escort carriers and destroyers. These are tiny ships, meant to support ground troops, not fight battleships. It should be a massacre. At 6:57 a.m., Yamato opens fire. The first time her main guns shoot at enemy ships, the sound is apocalyptic. The 18-inch shells scream across the ocean at 2,500 feet per second. Enormous geysers of colored water erupt around the American ships. Red, purple, green. Each battleship uses different dye in their shells to spot their hits. Yamato's are red. Her shells weigh over 3,000 pounds each. A direct hit will obliterate any ship in Taffy 3. But something impossible happens. The tiny American destroyers charge directly at the Japanese fleet. Destroyers attacking battleships, it's suicide. USS Johnston, USS Hole, USS Heermann race toward Yamato at full speed, firing torpedoes and guns. They're so close that Yamato's massive guns can't depress low enough to hit them. The Americans dodge between the shell splashes, launching desperate torpedo attacks. The battle becomes chaos. Yamato maneuvers to avoid torpedoes. The American escort carriers launch every plane they have. Fighters strafe Yamato's deck with machine guns. Bombers drop depth charges because they have no armor-piercing bombs. The Japanese fleet, confused and disorganized, mistakes the escort carriers for full-size fleet carriers. Admiral Kurita orders the ships to scatter and chase individual targets instead of staying together. Yamato does sink the escort carrier Gambier Bay. Her massive shells finally find their mark. The small carrier explodes and sinks. But the victory feels hollow. The American destroyers fight like demons. Johnston and Hole are sunk, but they buy enough time for most of Taffy 3 to escape. After 2.5 hours of battle, Kurita makes a fatal decision. He orders a retreat. Yamato and the fleet turn away, just miles from the defenseless American troop transports. They had won. The landing beaches were unprotected. They could have slaughtered thousands and destroyed the invasion, but Kurita's nerve breaks. They retreat. Yamato's crew is devastated. After 2 years of waiting, they finally fought. They sank one small carrier and retreated. The greatest battleship in the world, turned away by destroyers and escort carriers. The shame is complete. And now, they know the truth. Battleships are obsolete. The age of the gun is over. The age of the aircraft carrier has begun. But the war isn't over for Yamato. The worst is yet to come. In 6 months, she'll sail on her final mission. A mission with fuel for only one way. A mission against 400 American aircraft. A mission designed to kill everyone aboard. The death warrant is being written, and 3,000 men will carry it out. March 29th, 1945, Imperial Palace, Tokyo. Emperor Hirohito sits through a military briefing about the defense of Okinawa. American forces are preparing to invade. The situation is desperate. The briefers explain the kamikaze air attacks planned, the ground defenses being prepared, the thousands of soldiers who will die. The emperor listens silently. Then he asks one simple question. What is the Navy doing? Silence. The question hangs in the air like a death sentence. The admirals freeze. The Navy has done nothing. Most of the fleet is destroyed. What's left sits in port, hiding, waiting. The greatest battleship in the world, Yamato, sits idle while the empire burns. The emperor's question is not really a question. It's an accusation. It's a demand. And everyone in the room knows what it means. The meeting ends. Admiral Soemu Toyota, Commander-in-Chief of the Combined Fleet, returns to Naval Headquarters. His face is stone. He summons his staff. "We will send Yamato," he says quietly. The officers look at each other. They know what this means. Sending Yamato to Okinawa is murder. The Americans control the air. They have hundreds of carriers, thousands of planes. Yamato will be sailing into a death trap with no air cover, no support, no chance. But the Emperor has spoken. The Navy's honor demands action, even if that action is suicide. The plan. The plan is insane. Yamato, light cruiser Yahagi, and 8 destroyers will sail to Okinawa. Once there, Yamato will beach herself on the shore like a wounded whale. She'll become a stationary gun platform, firing her massive 18-inch guns until she runs out of ammunition. Then, the crew will abandon ship and fight on land alongside the army until they're all dead. It's not a battle plan. It's an execution order. But there's a problem. Fuel. Japan's oil reserves are nearly exhausted. There isn't enough fuel to send Yamato to Okinawa and back. The staff officers do the calculations. Yamato needs 6,300 tons of fuel oil for a round trip. The reserves don't have it. Vice Admiral Ryunosuke Kusaka makes a decision that will haunt him for the rest of his life. Give them enough fuel for one way only. The number is final. 2,500 tons, just enough to reach Okinawa, not enough to return. Some officers argue to send more, to at least give the crew the illusion of hope. Kusaka refuses. Why waste fuel they don't have on men who are already dead? The mission is named Operation Tengo, Heaven Number 1. The code name is cruelly appropriate. Heaven is where they're all going. The mutiny that never was, April 5th, 1945. The ship captains are finally told the plan. They've been kept in the dark until now. Captain Tamechi Hara of the cruiser Yahagi is summoned to a briefing aboard his ship. Admiral Ito is there. Vice Admiral Kusaka flew in from Tokyo specifically for this meeting. Kusaka stands and explains the mission. As he talks, the faces of the captains drain of color. When Kusaka finishes, silence. Then, chaos. Every captain objects. This isn't strategy, it's madness. Sailing in daylight without air cover, against the entire American fleet. They won't even reach Okinawa. They'll be slaughtered in the open ocean like fish in a barrel. Captain Hara demands they be allowed to scatter and raid American supply lines independently. Other captains agree. Small, fast attacks, hit and run. At least they'd have a chance. Admiral Ito says nothing. He agrees with them. He's been arguing against this mission for days, but Kusaka cuts through the objections with one sentence. The Emperor has spoken. The room goes silent. You cannot defy the Emperor. You cannot question his will, even if his will is death. Kusaka continues, his voice hard. The whole nation will hate the Navy if the war ends with Yamato still intact. Better she dies fighting than rusts in port. The logic is insane, but undeniable. Japan is losing. The Americans are bombing cities to ash. Millions are dying. And Yamato, the pride of the fleet, sits safe and unused. The shame is unbearable. If they don't send her out, the nation will call them cowards. The army already mocks the Navy as useless. This is their chance to prove they're willing to die like the soldiers, like the kamikaze pilots, like the civilians burning in Tokyo. Admiral Ito finally speaks. His voice is calm, resigned. I think we are being given an appropriate chance to die. A samurai lives so that he is always prepared to die. The other captains bow their heads. The argument is over. They will go. They will die. There's nothing more to say. The last night, April 5th, evening. Yamato's executive officer organizes a party for the crew. Sake flows freely. Many of the officers and sailors get drunk, some for the first time in their lives. They know what's coming. Some cry, some sing, some sit in silence, staring at nothing. Letters home are written, final words to mothers, fathers, wives, children. Some sailors burn their personal effects. Why leave anything behind? The younger crew members don't fully understand. They know it's dangerous, but they've never fought before. They think they might survive. The officers know better. The veterans of Lady Gulf know better. They've seen what American carrier planes can do. Tomorrow, those planes will come in swarms, and Yamato will burn. In his cabin, Admiral Ito writes his own farewell. He's 57 years old, a career officer, a man who never wanted this command, who argued against this mission, who knows it's pointless. But he will carry out his orders. He will die with his ship because that's what a Japanese admiral does. He seals the letter and sets it aside. Tomorrow, it will be delivered. He will not. Captain Aruga sits on the bridge, looking out at the dark water. He thinks about his conversation with Kusaka yesterday. This mission will save the honor of the Navy, Kusaka said. Aruga said nothing. How does honor help the 3,000 men about to die? How does honor stop American bombs? But he didn't argue. He just nodded. And now, tomorrow, he will take his ship and his men into hell. Because honor demands it. Because the Emperor demands it. Because there's no other choice left. The Americans know what the Japanese don't know. The Americans are reading their codes. Every radio transmission, every order, every detail of Operation Tengo is intercepted and decoded. Admiral Raymond Spruance, commander of the U.S. Fifth Fleet, receives confirmation on April 5th and 6th that Yamato is coming. He knows the route, he knows the timing, he knows there's no air cover. At 12:30 a.m. on April 6th, Spruance issues his orders. Prepare to attack the Japanese fleet, launch everything. He has 11 aircraft carriers at his disposal, hundreds of planes, torpedo bombers, dive bombers, fighters. The Japanese are sailing into a pre-planned ambush. This won't be a battle, it will be target practice. On Yamato, the crew sleeps, unaware that the Americans are waiting, unaware that tomorrow they will face the largest coordinated air attack ever launched against a single ship, unaware that some of them have less than 14 hours to live. April 6th, 3:00 p.m. Yamato weighs anchor and leaves port. The crew lines the rails, watching Japan disappear behind them. Many will never see it again. The sun is setting. The water is calm. Yamato's engines thrum as she picks up speed. Ahead lies the open ocean. Beyond that, Okinawa. Beyond that, death. The greatest battleship ever built is sailing toward her own execution. And she carries 3,132 souls with her into the darkness. April 7th, 1945. Dawn breaks over the East China Sea. Yamato cuts through calm waters at 20 knots. Around her, the escort ships maintain formation, 8 destroyers in a circular screen. Light cruiser Yahagi ahead. The sky is clear. Too clear. Perfect weather for aircraft, perfect weather for dying. At 8:23 a.m., American submarine Threadfin spots the Japanese task force. She surfaces just long enough to radio the position. Then she dives. No need to attack. The submarines know what's coming. The carriers will handle this. Threadfin's commander watches through the periscope as Yamato sails past, enormous and doomed. He'll read about her death in tomorrow's reports. On Yamato's bridge, Admiral Ito knows they've been spotted. Of course they have. The Americans have submarines everywhere. He checks his watch. How long until the planes arrive? 2 hours? 3? The crew is already at battle stations. The anti-aircraft guns are manned and ready. All they can do now is wait and watch the horizon. At 10 a.m., Japanese fighters arrive, a handful of obsolete planes, all Japan can spare. They're supposed to provide air cover. They circle for an hour, see nothing, and fly home. Their fuel is running low. They can't stay. Ito watches them disappear with grim acceptance. So much for air support. Yamato is alone. The sky turns black, 12:32 p.m. A lookout on the bridge screams, "Aircraft dead ahead!" Ito raises his binoculars. His blood goes cold. The horizon is black with planes, not dozens, hundreds, wave after wave coming from every carrier in the American fleet, 386 aircraft total, Helldivers, Avengers, Corsairs, Hellcats, the largest coordinated airstrike against a single ship in history. Captain Aruga's voice cuts through the bridge. "All guns, commence firing!" The ship explodes with sound. 24 127mm anti-aircraft guns open up. 162 25mm machine guns roar to life. The sky fills with black puffs of exploding shells. Tracers arc upward in streams of light. The noise is deafening. Yamato looks like a volcano erupting fire into the sky. But the Americans don't flinch. They've been training for this. They know Yamato's defenses. The plan is simple. Torpedo bombers will attack from the port side, forcing Yamato to turn. When she turns, more torpedo bombers will hit the same side, flood one side, capsize the ship. Dive bombers will attack from above, destroying the anti-aircraft guns and command centers. It's coordinated, methodical, and brutal. The first wave, 12:41 p.m. The torpedo bombers come in low, skimming the water at 200 feet. Yamato's machine guns concentrate on them. One American plane explodes in midair, cartwheeling into the sea. Another trails smoke and crashes, but the rest keep coming. At 500 yards, they release. Torpedoes splash into the water, running straight and fast, leaving white wakes. Aruga orders hard to port. Yamato's massive bulk responds slowly, too slowly. The first torpedo hits the port side amidships. The explosion sounds like the ship has been punched by a god. The deck buckles. Men are thrown off their feet. Water rushes in through a hole 20 feet wide. Then the second torpedo hits, then the third. Yamato shudders with each impact. Below decks, damage control teams scramble to seal compartments, but the water is coming in too fast. At the same time, dive bombers scream down from 10,000 feet. They're aiming for the superstructure, the bridge, the gun directors. Bombs whistle through the air. One hits the mainmast, exploding in a shower of metal. Another slams into the deck, punching through and detonating inside the ship. The radar room is obliterated. 8 men vanish in the blast, their bodies disintegrated. Engineer Satomori is in the engine room when the first bomb penetrates. A blast of superheated air slams through the compartment. He's hurled into the darkness. His ears are ringing. He can't breathe. The man next to him is on fire, screaming. Satomori crawls toward the electrical panel. The lights are out. He works by feel, his hands shaking, trying to restore power. Around him, men are dying. The second wave, 1:1 p.m., no break. The second wave hits before the first is finished. More torpedo bombers, more dive bombers. They've seen the tactic work. Hit the port side, flood the port side, capsize her. Yamato lists 5 degrees to port now. Aruga orders the starboard engine rooms flooded to compensate. It works. The ship levels out, but now she's slower, heavier, more sluggish. 4 more torpedoes hit the port side in rapid succession. The explosions blend into one continuous thunder. Compartment after compartment floods. The list returns, worse than before. 10 degrees, 15 degrees. The main gun turrets can't rotate anymore. The power to the gun directors is cut. The anti-aircraft guns switch to manual aim, firing wildly at anything that moves. A bomb hits the command tower. The explosion kills half the bridge crew instantly. Admiral Ito is still alive but covered in blood, not his. The man next to him is headless. Ito wipes blood from his eyes and continues giving orders. His voice is calm, steady. He will not panic. He will not show fear, even as his ship dies beneath him. The death spiral. 1:25 p.m. Yamato is listing 20 degrees to port. Walking on deck is impossible. Men slide down the tilted surface, grabbing at anything to stop. The list is irreversible now. Too many compartments flooded, too much water in the hull. Aruga knows it. Ito knows it. Every officer on the bridge knows it. The ship is doomed. 1:38 p.m. The third wave arrives. They smell blood. The Americans circle like sharks, picking their targets. Torpedo after torpedo slams into the exposed port side. Yamato has taken 11 torpedoes now, maybe more. No one is counting anymore. The list is 30 degrees. The main gun turrets are half submerged. The deck is nearly vertical. On the anti-aircraft guns, the crews keep firing even as the ship tilts beneath them. Some guns can no longer depress low enough to hit the planes. The gunners fire anyway, shooting into empty sky, because what else can they do? One gun crew is blown off the deck by a bomb hit. They tumble through the air, still firing, and hit the water in pieces. Young sailor Fukumoto is below decks in the flooded passageways. The water's up to his neck. He's swimming through the ship, trying to find a way out. Bodies float past him in the darkness. Men he knew, men he ate with, now dead and bloated. The water tastes like oil and blood. He finds a hatch. It's jammed. He pulls with all his strength. Nothing. He's going to drown inside the ship. Then a hand grabs him, an officer. Together they wrench the hatch open and climb up, gasping for air. The final moments, 2:05 p.m. Yamato is listing 35 degrees. Captain Aruga gives his final orders. Abandon ship, but it's too late for most. The list is too severe. Men trapped below decks are drowning. Men on deck can't move because the ship has become a tilted wall of steel. Some jump into the water, others just hold on and pray. Aruga doesn't leave the bridge. He wraps a rope around his waist and ties himself to the binnacle. He will go down with his ship like the samurai he is. Admiral Ito goes to his sea cabin below the bridge and locks the door. He will drown with Yamato. Both men have written their farewells. Both men are ready. 2:20 p.m. The ship rolls over. The massive hull capsizes to port. The giant propellers lift out of the water, still spinning uselessly. Men in the water see it happening in slow motion. The greatest battleship ever built, turning turtle like a dying whale. Fukumoto swims away frantically. The suction from the sinking ship will pull him under. 2:23 p.m. Yamato explodes. Fire reaches the main ammunition magazines. All the shells for the 18-inch guns, hundreds of tons of explosives, detonate at once. The blast is apocalyptic. A mushroom cloud rises 2 miles into the sky. The shock wave kills swimmers 1,000 yards away, rupturing their organs from the underwater pressure wave. American pilots, flying at 10,000 feet, feel their planes buffeted by the blast. One pilot will later say, "I saw Yamato die. I watched the biggest thing I'd ever seen just cease to exist." The explosion tears Yamato in half. The bow section sinks in seconds. The stern lingers a moment longer, then slides beneath the waves. Where the greatest battleship in the world once sailed, there's now only a massive oil slick, burning debris, and hundreds of men struggling in the water. The battle is over. The killing has just begun. 2:23 p.m. The explosion has passed. The mushroom cloud rises into the sky. Where Yamato once sailed, there's only fire and oil. Hundreds of men float in the water, gasping for air. The fuel oil is everywhere, thick, black, choking. It covers their faces, fills their mouths, burns their eyes. Some men are already dead, killed by the underwater shockwave that ruptured their organs when the ship exploded. They float face down, arms spread, gently rocking in the waves. Naoyoshi Ishida surfaces, coughing up oil. He's alive. He doesn't know how. He saw men closer to the explosion simply disintegrate. He looks around, bodies everywhere, pieces of the ship, burning debris, and the oil. So much oil. It's thick like syrup. Swimming is nearly impossible. Every stroke is exhausted. He thinks of his newborn son. He hasn't even met him yet. The baby was born while Ishida was at sea. That thought, that vision of a child he's never held, gives him strength. He keeps swimming. Young sailor Fukumoto is also alive. He jumped from the stern seconds before the explosion. The blast wave threw him through the air like a rag doll. He hit the water hard, went under, came back up disoriented. His ears are ringing. Everything sounds muffled, distant. He sees other sailors near him. Some are screaming. Some are silent, staring at nothing. One man's face is covered in blood. Another is missing an arm. Fukumoto treads water and tries not to look at the bodies. Machine guns from above. Then the Americans start shooting. The planes circle back, flying low over the survivors. Machine guns rattle. Bullets kick up geysers of water. The Japanese scatter, diving under the surface to avoid the fire. Ishida dives, holds his breath, surfaces. The planes are still there. He dives again. Each time he surfaces, he's more exhausted. His legs cramp from the cold water and the fuel oil coating his skin. He clings to a piece of floating wood. When the planes come, he lets go and dives. When they pass, he surfaces and grabs the wood again. This goes on for what feels like hours. Some men don't dive fast enough. The bullets find them. More bodies float in the oil. The survivors huddle together around floating debris. Logs, pieces of decking, anything that floats. When the planes attack, they scatter. When the planes leave, they gather again. But each time there are fewer of them. The weak ones let go. They can't hold on anymore. The cold is too much. The exhaustion is too much. They slip beneath the surface and don't come back up. Waiting for death. The water in April is cold, not freezing, but cold enough. Hypothermia sets in slowly. First the shivering, then the confusion, then the giving up. Men who were strong swimmers just stop. They look at their friends, say nothing, and sink. Others hallucinate. They see rescue ships that aren't there. They see land on the horizon. They start swimming toward nothing and disappear. Ishida's legs cramp badly. The oil makes everything harder. It's thick in the water, coating his skin, making him heavier. He sees men around him simply let go of their floating debris and slip under. No struggle, no fight, just acceptance. He thinks again of his son. If I die here, my son will never know me. That thought keeps him conscious. He grips the wood and refuses to let go. Fukumoto is in slightly better condition. He's young, strong, a good swimmer, but even he is fading. The fuel oil is in his mouth, his nose, his lungs. Every breath tastes like poison. He sees a man near him vomiting black liquid. The man's eyes roll back and he goes still. Fukumoto looks away. Don't think about it. Just hold on. Just survive. But he's starting to doubt anyone is coming. Maybe they'll all die here. Maybe this is how it ends. Around them, the debris field spreads for miles, bits of Yamato scattered across the ocean, a gun turret protruding from the water, pieces of hull, twisted metal, and bodies, so many bodies. The oil slick burns in places, sending up columns of black smoke. Men near the flames paddle frantically away, but the oil follows them. Some get caught in the fire and scream. The screaming doesn't last long. Rescue. 4 hours pass. Then, finally, ships. Japanese destroyers, the ones that survived the air attack, return to pick up survivors. Fukumoto sees one approaching. Relief floods through him. He's going to live. He's actually going to live. The destroyer pulls alongside. Sailors throw ropes down. Fukumoto grabs one and tries to climb. He can't. His arms won't work. He's too cold, too exhausted. Hands reach down and haul him up bodily. He collapses on the deck, shaking, covered in oil. An officer stands over him and suddenly slaps him hard across both cheeks. Fukumoto's head snaps back. The officer slaps him again. "Stay awake!" the officer shouts. Fukumoto realizes why. If he loses consciousness from relief, he'll die. The officer is keeping him alert, keeping him alive. Someone shoves a bottle of wine into his hands. "Drink and go inside." Fukumoto drinks. The alcohol burns his throat. He stumbles below deck. Ishida is also pulled aboard. His body is rigid from the cold. He can barely move. Sailors wrap him in blankets and give him hot tea. He sits in silence, staring at nothing. Around him, other survivors are brought up. Some are unconscious, some are raving. One man is pulled up and dies on deck seconds later. His heart just stops. The sailors cover him with a tarp and move on. There are more to rescue. The destroyers work for hours, pulling men from the water, but many are already dead. The count is grim. Of 332 men aboard Yamato, only 276 survive. Over 3,000 dead. The light cruiser Yahagi is also sunk. 4 destroyers are lost. The entire operation is a massacre, not a battle, a massacre. The cover-up. The survivors are taken to Kure Naval Base, but they are not allowed to leave. The military doesn't want news of Yamato's sinking to spread. It's bad for morale. The survivors are held in a warehouse for a week. They're told to stay inside, stay out of sight. They're still covered in oil. If civilians see them, they'll know something terrible happened. Fukumoto is held for a month. During that time, he says nothing to anyone outside. When he's finally allowed to go home, he walks through the streets of Kure. The city is destroyed. American firebombs have leveled entire neighborhoods. His house is still standing. His family is alive. His mother sees him and cries. She thought he was dead. Everyone thought the crew of Yamato was dead, because most of them are. Ishida goes home to meet his son for the first time. The baby is 3 months old. Ishida holds him and doesn't speak. His wife asks what happened. He says nothing. She doesn't push. The look in his eyes tells her everything. He will not talk about it for decades. The silence. Engineer Satomori, who survived the Battle of Leyte Gulf in October 1944, was reassigned before the final mission. He didn't sail on Yamato's last voyage. He was one of the lucky ones, but he carries his own trauma. He saw men die at Leyte. He felt the bombs hit, the heat of the explosion, the terror of thinking he would die in the dark. After the war, he becomes a police officer, then a temple priest. He says nothing about his service for 50 years. At age 90, his wife dies. And suddenly, the memories flood back. He can see their faces, the young sailors who died. He can hear the song Umi Yukaba played during their burial at sea. He can feel the fear, the heat, the blast of air that nearly killed him. He starts to talk. He gives lectures to schools. He tells his story. "War leaves hell in your heart for the rest of your life," he says. His voice is steady, but his hands shake when he speaks. Fukumoto and Ishida also eventually share their stories. They appear in documentaries, give interviews. They're 2 of the last living witnesses. As the years pass, the number of survivors dwindles. Each year, more of them die. The men who lived through the explosion, who floated in the burning oil, who watched their friends drown. They're almost all gone now. The wreckage. Yamato lies 1,410 feet below the surface, 50 miles southwest of Kyushu. The wreck was located in 1985. The ship is broken in half. The bow section rests upright. The stern is upside down, half buried in mud. The massive gun turrets are scattered across the seafloor. Divers have explored the wreck and brought back footage. The ship is covered in coral now, slowly being reclaimed by the ocean. Inside, the remains of over 3,000 men, still at their posts, still trapped where they died. The water is too deep for most divers. The ship has become a tomb, a monument to the cost of pride and honor, a reminder that the greatest weapons in the world mean nothing if the strategy is suicide. The survivors are haunted by one question. Why? Why did they send Yamato on a mission with no air cover, no chance of success, no fuel to return? Why did the admirals sacrifice 3,000 men for honor, for appearances, to prove the Navy wasn't cowardly? The survivors have no answer, only the memory of burning oil, machine gun fire from above, and the screams of men who drowned inside a sinking ship. Yamato was the most powerful battleship ever built. She was supposed to win the war. Instead, she became a coffin for 3,000 men. A symbol not of Japan's strength, but of its desperation. In the end, the greatest ship in the world was destroyed in less than 2 hours by planes she couldn't shoot down, fighting a battle she couldn't win on a mission that never had a chance. And 276 men lived to tell the story.